What if Tibet keeps its independence in 1950? But with Western powers at their throats, China needs to focus its efforts elsewhere. The Tibetan people, led by the 14th Dalai Lama, are ready to fight for their freedom. With the help of the CIA, they've been training a special force of guerrilla fighters to take on the Chinese. As the Tibetan guerrillas begin their attacks, despite these setbacks, the Chinese would eventually prevail in the Korean War. But without Tibet, the communist government's prestige in the eyes of the world is greatly diminished. The Cultural Revolution goes off without a hitch, and China's economic growth slows dramatically. Fast forward to today. Without the vast mineral resources of Tibet, China's economy never reaches the heights it did in our timeline. The Chinese still possess the bomb. The US, on the other hand, becomes the dominant world power, ushering in an era of peace and prosperity for all mankind. Or maybe not. Maybe the Chinese simply become more aggressive towards their smaller neighbors, invading them one by one. Without the vast population of Tibet, China's population growth slows dramatically, and the country begins to feel the effects of an aging population. By the year 2050, China becomes a shadow of its former self, a poor, crumbling nation ruled by a tyrannical government. On the other hand, the United States, with its vast natural resources and young population, becomes the dominant world power. Perhaps the Vietnam War ends differently, with the US emerging victorious. But soon after, anti-American sentiment reaches a fever pitch. With the Soviet Union backing North Vietnam and China backing North Korea, the US pulls out all the stops and commits to fighting the war, committing hundreds of thousands of troops. But even still, it's not enough. The US suffers hundreds of thousands of casualties and the war drags on for years. Eventually, the US is forced to pull out of Vietnam and the dominoes fall. One by one, the US fails to stop the spread of communism, and soon Southeast Asia falls under the influence of the Soviet Union. A devastated America pulls itself back into a shell, never again to emerge as a world power. So what's the lesson here? Even if the US had helped Tibet remain independent, it wouldn't have changed the ultimate outcome. The US was never going to win a war against China. And without the vast resources of Tibet, China would never have become the powerhouse it did. So perhaps the best thing for Tibetans would have been to simply accept Chinese rule and work from within to change the government. Oh well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.